Hey there, everybody. Thank you for watching. As always, I really do appreciate it. This episode is going to be a post-mortem on that Murphy bed project that I recently just wrapped up. As I mentioned at the end of the last episode, I like doing things like this for larger projects that I work on. For one, it helps me just learn from what I've done. And also, for those of you who haven't done this before and thinking of maybe following along on the playlist or just doing this on your own, I figure why not share with you my experiences so that you can learn from my mistakes. Perhaps you can make your own, but not mine. So with that, there's about 5 things that I want to go through here, kind of group them together. Basically, things that I would certainly learn from and keep in mind if I were to start this project again today. So with that, let's kick things off. Okay, for the 5 areas I want to focus on for this review, the first one I'm calling is the Murphy bed hardware kit. Just want to go through the installation instructions that came with this hardware kit to emphasize some areas I think might be useful to you. Then the next section is I'm calling the main bed box installation. Again, just a note on installing this, I'm calling it bed box, certainly over carpet, something I would do differently next time. Then there's a good lesson learned on the bed box design that I want to share with you, and something I would definitely do different next time to make this easier on myself. Then the door panel design, just a slight modification. I like the door panels for the drop front desk, but I would clean those up in a next installation just to make it look a little nicer when finished. And lastly, real quick, just kind of review a couple of notes on the cabinet hinges that I used. There's only 2 cabinet doors in this project, but yeah, I would approach that differently the next time just to make it easier on myself. Okay, so the first thing I want to go over here are these instructions for this hardware kit that I used for this project. And I'll include a link to this manual in the description for this channel. I'm sure there are many kits out there available on the market, but this is the one I ended up using. So again, if you're thinking about doing this project and you end up using this kit, just a couple of things I want to point out that, I mean, I had the instructions and I read them before I started, but you know, with these things like this is the first Murphy bed I've ever installed. So some things, even though you read it, aren't going to stick out to you until you do it. So for those of you who haven't done it yet, I thought I'd go through just a couple of things that I wanted to highlight that I think might be helpful. Good. The first is this section here outlining some warnings regarding the weights and dimensions of this kit. And I did this project using a queen bed. Now, I already had a mattress that I wanted to incorporate into this Murphy bed. But if you don't, this is one thing that you want to keep in mind. The max thickness recommended for this kit for a mattress is 10 inches. And in my opinion, especially after, I don't think about mattresses that often in great detail, but when I started working on this, of course I did. And at least in my opinion, that's not a very thick mattress. So that's something worth highlighting. And the reason being, just based on, these numbers here with respect to weight limits for the kit, my assumption is that one of the key reasons for this recommendation is that if you go over that size, thickness mattress, the width of these components here, the sides of the Murphy bed kit, I'm calling the main bed box, which for these instructions say 17 inches, that becomes a problem. If you go greater than 10 inches and stick with these dimensions, you're going to run into issues in terms of the bed closing and fitting. Luckily, when I laid this project out for me, I already accounted for wider sides here, and that was in order to incorporate that drop front desk. So when I put this together, I ended up having to move these brackets towards the front of the sides a little bit to accommodate the thickness of the mattress that I used. And luckily, I gave myself plenty of material here to accommodate that drop front desk. I was pretty liberal in my accounting for, I think I gave myself 6 extra inches for the drop front desk infrastructure. At the end of the project, I think I ended up having 4 left over because I had to move this bracket a little bit in order to fit the mattress that I already had. So anyway, again, just want to point that out, that if you end up using this kit, again, and whatever kit you get, obviously you're going to want to look at your own instructions to figure this out for yourself. But to the extent that it's useful, I wanted to point that out, that this is an important dimension here to keep in mind. Again, if you use this kit and you're thinking about using a mattress that you already have. And if you're not thinking about using a mattress that you already have, the other thing I want to point out is at the end of these instructions, again, since I already had a mattress, it was irrelevant for me, but this is very important. Do not use, foam or very light mattress with this product. The reason being, the struts included with this project are pretty strong. So if you use a lightweight mattress, the kit won't stay down unless a decent sized person is on it. So if you're thinking about, using this kit and just buying one of those mattresses in a box, you might want to think about that and keep in mind, as I say here, these weight specifications. Let's see, where is it at here? For this kit. And here, the max load ratings, dynamic and static, 395 pounds dynamic. I knew I was going to be adding extra material to these door panels here for the Murphy bed or the drop front desk. But I was pretty, obviously confident that I wasn't going to go over almost 400 pounds in extra plywood. So that wasn't a concern. But something to keep in mind, depending upon what you're going to be making if you do something like this for that, the door panel. So just want to point those things out. Again, I'll put a link for these instructions in the description for this channel, but these were a couple of things that, again, even though I did read them after having done the project, I thought it might be good to point out to someone else who hasn't done this project, but thinking about using this kit, again, to keep in mind. Right? Okay, so the next thing I'm going to go over is what I'm calling the main bed box installation. That's this main cabinet that holds the mattress and the hardware for the hardware kit, specifically about the floor part of the installation. If you look at the instructions for securing the cabinet to the wall for this part of the installation, it does talk about, removing the baseboard or base molding if it's there, but that's basically it. And then also there's this warning here or notice here about making sure that the edges of the cabinet are plumb using a level. When I did my installation, I followed these instructions, which I'm not suggesting I shouldn't say you don't want to follow the instructions. But anyway, from my opinion, even though I did it this way, if I were to do it again, in addition to removing the base molding, I would also do what I did when I installed the base cabinets. I would also remove the carpet and padding, just to give myself a nice flat surface on which to base or place the cabinet. Now this is me removing the carpet and padding for the base cabinet installation. So what I'm saying is I do the same thing for the bed box if I did it today. And you could choose to remove the tack strip, or perhaps better, you might want to cut a piece of 3/4 inch plywood, roughly the the dimensions of the bed box, but that piece of plywood against the tack strip, still removing the base molding, and then level that piece of plywood and attach it to the subfloor in this case, and then install the bed box on top of that. And if you did it that way, raising that bed box up 3/4 inch roughly off the floor would give you a little bit of a gap to tuck the carpet in on that edge under the bed box over a tack strip. The next thing I'm going to talk about here is this bed box design. And I'll be honest, this is a little embarrassing. But as I mentioned before, I want to keep it real with y'all on this channel. So, woodworking is about continuous learning. So in that spirit, I obviously could not leave this segment out of this project review. Okay, so to help illustrate what happened here, I thought I'd get into SketchUp. Although some of you might already know where I'm going with this. But anyway, here is, let's say this is the bed box here. Let's give some dimensions here. Again, I did a queen size bed, so 63 wide by 93 1/4 is what I designed for this bed box. So, and then the only other dimension, which is key, is the width here, or thickness. And another key dimension to keep in mind is this. So I can get it to stick. So let's see here. Right now in my little illustration, this box is, 10 inches thick or wide. And if you look at the instructions that came with the kit, it mentioned a 17-inch width for this box, although not quite as tall, but 17 inches was the recommendation, again, for a 10-inch thick mattress, which, would have been fine. But of course, I went thicker because, again, I added some depth for the drop front desk infrastructure. It's about 23 inches is what I added, or 23 total was what I was going for the bed box. And so you get around 23 inches or so. I can recall exactly what it was. Again, the other thing that starts to happen is this right here. And of course, we know 8 feet is 96 inches. So that became a problem after I had the bed installed on the floor in the bedroom. So as you can imagine, once I realized this, and I've had a couple of scuffs in the ceiling, yeah, none of this is on camera. And if it was, I wouldn't show it. That'd be too embarrassing. And I don't want to get thrown off of YouTube for language. So, but anyway, I thought about discussing this at the time, but I figured I knew I'd have other experiences as I kept going. So I figured I would save this for this part of the conversation. But yeah, given that problem, Obviously when I went to, stand it up, yeah, that wasn't going to work. Again, the room has 8-foot ceilings.
Yeah.
So this is perspective view on Google. So you can see here what happened. And again, I was sitting on carpet. So basically I couldn't stand the thing up. So what I had to do to make it fit, and I'll be honest, I was so pissed when this happened. I almost thought of just jamming it up and then fixing the ceiling later. But luckily I remembered that the drywall is attached to studs, and I needed more than even this illustration is showing to get it to fit. So there's no way I could have gotten around having to do this to my bed box. And that's really easy here on the screen. But I'd used a combination of my track saw and multi-tool to get that piece off so I could stand the box up. And I'll just say that in so doing, I only set the smoke alarm off once in our house, but I was able to get it done and get the box installed and upright. And that is why, if you look back at earlier episodes of this project, you only see the top part of that bed box when the unit is installed on the floor in my shop, the little pre-assembly that I did. Once it gets up to the room, you only see it with that header piece installed. And now you know why. What I should have done is this right here, is made the bed box in 2 pieces, get this piece upright, and then just slide this piece in on top. And actually in the other illustration, I had this at 93 1/4 inches. It's actually 94 1/4 inches was the total height. But anyway, that's what I should have done. And I thought about doing that. But I figured, that 1 3/4 inches should give me enough clearance to stand it up. And I'd save a little bit of plywood in between the two, an extra sheet, which is, I know, ridiculous. And it would save me of having to worry about this section on the side, which I could have easily fixed by using a piece of 1/4 inch birch plywood or just trimming it out around the side there so you wouldn't see it. But anyway, I just had to make it in one piece, and it didn't work. So, lesson learned. Next I'm going to talk about are these door panels and that infrastructure I was calling it for the drop front desk. When I first drew this up, I had planned for a slightly cleaner design, and I kind of magnified there the joints, the butt joints, I guess, and what I had in mind. However, when I started to make this, I figured I'd just simplify it and make a series of boxes that I would just screw together, attach, and then attach to the door panels using pocket screws. It definitely made the construction easier. However, when I finished the project and had the bed installed, you could see those joints there on the side. Not a big deal. I painted over it, sanded a little bit, but just a little sloppy, I thought. So, but I'm going to live with it. I just drew this up really quick for illustration purposes, but if I would have thought ahead, I could have allowed for me to either put an extra piece of 3/4 inch plywood on the outside of these door panels to clean up the edges there, or could have even done like a piece of 1/4 inch birch plywood, which again, I thought about doing after the fact here, but I just didn't allow for much clearance on the outside of the bed box to add anything, I felt, so I just painted over it. So again, note for next time. And the last thing I want to talk about are the hinges that I used for the 2 cabinet doors installed in this project. Here are the hinges that are on that small cabinet right next to the bed. And here are the hinges, similar hinges that are installed on that corner cabinet that has the Lazy Susan. Now there are, of course, all kinds of hinges I could have used for this project. The hinges I used actually were some that I bought a while ago, and I bought them for the library project that I did in our office way back when. But those hinges are not soft close. They're the, snap close type. And I could have gone out and got a whole bunch of these adapters. But instead of that, I decided to just buy all new hinges that were soft close. And I kept these. I have a lot of different hinges scattered around that I purchased over the years for different projects and didn't use them for one reason or another, but hung on to them thinking I'll use them at some point. So I thought only 2 doors in this project, I'll just use these inset snap close hinges for 2 doors. But installing these hinges in a small cabinet after the face frame is installed is a pain. So if I were to do this project again, what I would do is actually what I did with the library project, and that is I would install the hinges on the back of the face frames before I attach the face frames to the cabinet. In fact, you could line up the cabinet doors, the whole thing lined up, take the cabinet doors off, install the hinges, attach the face frame to the cabinet, and go on your way. Or at the very least, I could have installed these hinges through the back of the cabinet, since the backs of my cabinets are open, before I installed the cabinets. But I didn't do that. I thought 2 cabinets, not that big of a deal. I'll just put them on after the fact. Wouldn't do that again. You just can't get in that little cabinet opening and trying to see around the corner. It took me a long time to get them installed, so I wouldn't do that again. So that's that. All right, that is it for this project. I hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching. As always, I really do appreciate it. And if you have not done so already, please subscribe to my channel so you can get notifications of future content. My next project is looking like it's going to be an office desk. Someone has asked me to design and build an office desk for them out of walnuts. I'm going to start working on that design really soon. And once I start working on that, I'll make it into a project. In fact, when I go to pick up the lumber for that project, I will probably also get the wood for that last little corner shelf in this project and do that. But again, thanks for watching. Until next time, bye for now.